The whistle pierced the air like a gunshot, and I froze mid-stride on the frost-kissed turf of Eisenhower High's field, my cleats digging into the mud as if the earth itself wanted to swallow me whole. "What the hell are you doing here, Alexander?" My father's voice boomed from the sidelines, his face twisting into a mask of fury that I'd only seen in old family photos from his glory days as a Marine. In that split second, as the entire team turned to stare, I realized the secret I'd buried deeper than my own heartbeat was clawing its way to the surface, and the boy I'd fallen for, standing just 10 yards away, his helmet dangling from sweat-slicked fingers, was about to become the casualty. I never meant for it to unravel like this. Not on the eve of the state championships in our sleepy corner of Ohio, where Friday nights under the lights were the only religion that mattered. Dad, Coach Harlan to the world, had built his life around the gridiron, molding boys into men with iron-fisted drills and sermons about discipline that echoed like thunderclaps. He was the unbreakable pillar of Milford, the town that still whispered about his undefeated season back in '89. The one that put us on the map before the factories shuttered and dreams turned to rust. Me? I was the afterthought, the scrawny kid he'd shipped off to boarding school in Pittsburgh after Mom left, convinced the city air would toughen me up. "You're not like the others, Alex," he'd say, his eyes avoiding mine. "But you'll learn to be." That summer, everything shifted. I came home for break, taller now at 18, with shoulders broadened by awkward teenage rebellion and a quiet fire I'd kind of on the weights in secret. The old resentment simmered. Why couldn't I just be the son he paraded at Booster Club barbecues? So I signed up for tryouts. No fanfare, no heads up. Just me, lacing up cleats I'd bought secondhand from a thrift shop in Shadyside, stepping onto that field like I owned it. The first practice was a blur of sprints and tackles, my lungs burning as I dodged linebackers twice my size. I held my own, barely, enough to earn a spot on the JV squad. Then a surprise call-up to varsity when our wide receiver blew out his knee. Dad's eyes widened when the roster came out, but he said nothing. Progress, I thought. A crack in the armor. That's when I met Jamie. He was the golden boy, quarterback with a cannon arm and a smile that could disarm a linebacker. 19, a year ahead, with sun-bleached hair and freckles that danced across his nose like stars on a clear Midwest night. He transferred in from Cincinnati after his folks split. Rumor had it his dad was some hotshot lawyer who couldn't handle the fallout. Jamie didn't talk about it, but you could see the shadows in his laugh, the way he'd linger after practice, tossing a football to the sky like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. Our first real conversation happened in the locker room, steam curling from the showers like ghosts. I was fumbling with my pads, cursing under my breath at a stubborn strap, when he appeared, towel slung low on his hips, water dripping from his curls. "Need a hand, new blood?" His voice was easy, laced with that Cincinnati drawl that made everything sound like an invitation. I nodded, throat dry, and as his fingers brushed mine, rough from gripping laces, warm against my clammy skin, something ignited. A spark, forbidden and fierce, that neither of us acknowledged right then. But it was there, humming like the fluorescent lights overhead. We fell into a rhythm after that. Late-night film sessions in the AV room, where Coach would bark orders at the projector, but Jamie and I would steal glances, our knees brushing under the desk. Shared Gatorades on the bus rides to away games, his hand lingering a beat too long when he passed the bottle. It was innocent at first, harmless flirtations wrapped in bro code, the kind of stuff straight guys did without a second thought. But for me, every touch was a revelation, a whisper that maybe I wasn't broken after all. I'd known I was gay since I was 14, piecing it together from stolen glances at locker room mirrors and the ache in my chest during those mandatory man talks Dad forced on me. Coming out, in Milford, that was a pipe dream wrapped in barbed wire. Jamie got it, though. One night, after a brutal scrimmage where we edged out the seniors 21-17, we snuck out to the quarry behind the old mill. Moonlight silvered the water, and we stripped down to our shorts, cannonballing in like idiots, the cold shock yanking laughter from our guts. Treading water, faces close, he said it plain. "I like you, Alex. Not like a teammate. Like you." His eyes held mine, vulnerable and steady. the weight of unspoken histories hanging between us. I kissed him then, tentative at first, salt and chlorine on our lips, his hand cupping the back of my neck like I was something precious. It was my first real kiss, clumsy and perfect, the world narrowing to the press of his mouth and the stars wheeling overhead. From there, it was a secret symphony. Stolen moments in the equipment shed, his breath hot against my ear as we mapped each other's scars. His from a childhood bike wreck, mine from Dad's tough love, wrestling matches. Whispers in the dark of my truck, parked on Lover's Lane, irony not lost on us, where we talk about everything and nothing. His dream of playing D1 ball at Ohio State, my half-baked plans to study literature in New York, far from the cornfields that choked us. "We're gonna make it," he'd murmur, fingers tracing lazy circles on my thigh, always stopping short of more. It wasn't about that. It was the ache of being seen, the quiet revolution of two boys rewriting the rules in a town that still flew Confederate flags at tailgates. But secrets in Milford? They're like dry tinder waiting for a match. Coach Dad started noticing things. The way I'd light up after a good route from Jamie, or how we'd high-five a little too long. "Eyes on the prize, son," he'd grunt during drills, clapping me on the back hard enough to bruise. I brushed it off, doubled down on the facade. Louder laughs in the huddle, cruder jokes in the showers. Jamie did the same, channeling it into touchdowns that had the crowd chanting his name. We were invincible, or so I told myself, right up until the betrayal hit like a blindside sack. It came from Tyler, our linebacker, the kid with a chip on his shoulder the size of Lake Erie. He'd always been jealous of Jamie's arm, my quick feet, the easy camaraderie we three shared. One afternoon, post-practice, he cornered me in the john, reeking of chew and spite. "Saw you two at the quarry, Harlan. Real cozy. What would Coach say about his star recruit batting for the other team?" His smirk was a knife twisting slow. I shoved him hard, but the damage was done. By evening, whispers slithered through the team like smoke. Dad called the team meeting that Friday after lights out. Not in the film room, but the old gym, bleachers pulled up like a courtroom. The air thick with the scent of polished wood and impending doom. The guys filed in silent, faces a mix of curiosity and dread. Jamie sat beside me, our pinkies brushing under the bench, a lifeline. Then Dad strode in, clipboard in hand, his whistle glinting like a judge's gavel. "We've got a problem," he announced, eyes locking on mine. "Rules are rules, and someone's broken them." The accusations flew then, Tyler leading the charge with a venom that turned my stomach. "It's Alex and QB coach, hooking up, against team code, distracts from the game." Murmurs rippled, some shocked, others nodding like they'd known all along. Jamie's hand went slack in mine, hidden but trembling. I stood, heart hammering, ready to deny, to fight, but Dad's voice cut through. "Is it true, son?" The gym fell silent, the weight of every stare pinning me like a butterfly to corkboard. I looked at Jamie, his face pale but resolute, then back at the man who'd raised me or tried to. "Yeah," I said, voice steady despite the quake inside. "It's true. I love him." Gasps echoed, chairs scraping as guys shifted uncomfortably. Tyler crowed, vindicated, but Dad just stared, his clipboard clattering to the floor. The trial had begun, not with words, but with the raw unraveling of everything we'd built. That night stretched eternal, the gym emptying like a confessional after absolution denied. Dad didn't yell, not at first. He motioned me to his office, the door clicking shut with a finality that echoed in my bones. Jamie waited outside, but I waved him off. This was my cross to bear. Inside, the walls were lined with trophies, yellowed photos of Dad in his prime, arms slung around teammates who looked at him like a god. He sank into his chair, face ashen, rubbing his temples like he could erase the last hour. "How long, Alex? How long have you been like this?" "Always, Dad. It's not a phase. It's me." The words tumbled out, years of bottled truth spilling over. I told him about the boarding school isolation, the crushes on boys who never looked back, the way his toughen-up lectures felt like punches to the gut. He listened, or pretended to, his jaw clenching tighter with each revelation. When I got to Jamie, how his laugh lit up the gray days, how we dreamed of escaping together. Something cracked in his eyes. Not anger, not fully. Hurt, deep and paternal, the kind that reshapes landscapes. You think I don't know pain, son? Your mother. She left because I couldn't bend. Wouldn't. And now this. He gestured vaguely, encompassing the team, the town, the fragile empire he'd forged. Football's about brotherhood, not complications. Tyler's right. It divides us. I pushed back, voice rising. It doesn't have to. Love doesn't weaken. It steals you. But he shook his head, the coach emerging over the father. You're off the team. Effective immediately. And Jamie. He'll follow if he knows what's good for him. The betrayal stung worse than Tyler's snitch. Not just the benching, but the fracture in Dad's voice, the plea hidden in his command. I stormed out, finding Jamie slumped against the brick wall, moonlight carving shadows on his face. What happened? He whispered, pulling me into a hug that smelled of grass and fear. I buried my face in his shoulder, the sobs coming hot and unbidden. It's over. For us, for the team. Everything. We drove to the quarry again that night, the water black as ink under a starless sky. No cannonballs this time, just sitting on the tailgate, legs swinging, his arm around me like an anchor. We'll fight it, he said fiercely, though his voice wavered. Tell the team the truth. About me too. No more hiding. I nodded, drawing strength from his resolve, but doubt gnawed at the edges. Milford wasn't ready for two-out queer kids on the championship roster. And Dad? He was the gatekeeper, the one who'd burn it all down before letting weakness seep in. The next week was a pressure cooker. Practice without me felt like amputation. I watched from the bleachers, a ghost in my own story, while Jamie threw lasers that screamed his frustration. Whispers turned to stares, Tyler strutting like he'd won the Super Bowl. The boosters called emergency sessions, fretting over scandal and sponsorships from the local Chevy dealer. Dad doubled down on drills, his whistle a war cry, but I saw the toll. The way his hands shook signing lineup sheets, the late nights with a bottle of bourbon in his desk drawer. Jamie and I clung to our bubble. Study dates that stretched into dawn, his hand in mine under the cafeteria table. Stolen kisses in the band room where the trumpet echoes drowned our heartbeats. Remember New York? He'd say, sketching skyline doodles on my notebook margins. We'll get there. You, me. A walk-up in Brooklyn with fire escapes for stargazing. It was our mantra, a lifeline against the tide. But the current pulled harder. Tyler escalated, slipping notes into lockers. Fags off the field, scrawled in Sharpie. Anonymous but not. One night, he cornered Jamie after curfew. Words turning to shoves. A black eye blooming like a bruise on our hope. I confronted him the next day, rain lashing the field like judgment. Why, Ty? We were friends. He laughed, bitter and broken. Friends don't lie, Harlan. You two made a fool of us all. It hit then. His jealousy wasn't just ego. It was fear, the same toxic brew Dad preached as manhood. I walked away, soaked and shaking, vowing to end it. But how? The championship loomed, a colossus against our crumbling world. The climax crashed on game night, against arch-rivals Crestwood. The stadium thrummed. 5,000 voices a-roar under floodlights that turned the field into a stage. Dad had relented barely, letting me suit up as water boy, a crumb of mercy. Jamie was electric, slinging passes that danced through defenders, but the fire in his eyes was edged with desperation. Halftime tied at 14, locker room thick with sweat and strategy. That's when Tyler struck his final blow, bursting in with a phone aloft, video grainy but damning. Me and Jamie at the quarry, silhouetted in a kiss. Chaos erupted. Shouts, accusations, coach's bellow cutting through like lightning. Enough! He seized the phone, face thunderous, then turned to me, the boy he'd once dreamed of molding in his image. Outside. Now. The team froze as we stepped into the rain-slick night, the roar of the crowd muffled by the downpour. You did this? He hissed, But there was no heat, only exhaustion. Tore us apart. No, Dad. Fear did that. Yours. Ours. I laid it bare then, the full confession. Not just love, but the loneliness it had masked, the way hiding had hollowed us both. He listened, rain mingling with tears on his cheeks, the unbreakable Harlan cracking like old leather. I pushed you away because I see her in you, your mother, the softness I couldn't protect. It was the most he'd ever shared, a dam breaking after decades. In that moment, under the storm, father and son stood trial. Not for rules broken, but for hearts guarded too fiercely. He didn't bench Jamie, didn't out us. Instead, as the second half whistle blew, he clapped a hand on my shoulder, water boy or not, and said, "Get in there, son. Show 'em what Harlan blood's made of." I played like a man possessed, routes crisp, blocks fierce, Jamie's passes finding me in ways that felt fated. We won 28-21. The final touchdown, a screen pass where our eyes locked midair, a silent vow amid the chaos. In the aftermath, Milford shifted, slow as molasses but real. Tyler slunk away, transferred schools come spring. Dad started therapy, begrudgingly at my insistence, unpacking the ghosts that had armored him. Jamie and I, we lasted through graduation, through Ohio State's recruiting letters that came for both of us. But life, that great betrayer, had other plans. A scholarship snag for me, a knee injury for him senior year. We parted in a Brooklyn coffee shop, tears and toasts, promising letters and visits. "This isn't the end," he said, echoing our quarry nights. "Just intermission." Years on, I'm a teacher in Pittsburgh, coaching JV track to kids who remind me of us, raw, reaching. Dad retired last fall, moved to Florida with a boyfriend named Ray, a widower from the VFW hall. We talk weekly, his voice softer now, laced with pride. "You taught me, Alex, about bending." Jamie, he's a coach too, in Cincinnati, married to a graphic designer named Mike. 2 kids with his freckles. We catch up at holidays, the love evolved but evergreen. A foundation, not a flame. Looking back, that trial wasn't about rules or teams. It was about claiming space in a world that tries to box you in. We broke free, not unscathed, but whole. And in the quiet of Milford's empty fields, under stars that still will like promises, I know. Love doesn't follow playbooks. It writes its own. The off-season dragged like a bad hangover. Milford buried under a blanket of snow that turned the fields into white wastelands, mirroring the chill in our house. Dad threw himself into booster meetings and winter clinics, his absence a louder presence than any lecture. I catch him staring at old game tapes, pausing on plays where Jamie and I synced perfectly, his finger hovering over the remote like it could rewind time. Me? I buried myself in books, Hemingway's stoic bulls, Baldwin's aching truths, searching for words to bridge the gulf. Jamie became my harbor. Our dates, clandestine walks along the frozen river, breath fogging the air as we plotted futures brighter than the sodium lamps flickering overhead. One evening, as March thawed the edges, he pulled me into the old drive-in lot, weeds pushing through cracked asphalt, where families once picnicked under screens showing John Wayne epics. The marquee still stood, rusted but defiant, letters faded to ghosts. "Marry me," he said. Not on one knee but cross-legged on a plaid blanket, a thermos of hot cocoa steaming between us. No ring, just a high school Letterman jacket patch, sewn into a leather cord, dangling from his fingers. Not legal here, not yet, but promise me forever. My yes was a sob, the kiss that followed tasting of chocolate and forever. The drive-in's empty screen a blank canvas for dreams we dared to sketch. But paradise has teeth. Tyler hadn't vanished entirely. He'd wormed into the rumor mill, feeding boosters half-truths that painted us as distractions, a cancer on the team's morale. Dad defended us in closed doors. I overheard him once voice gravelly, "My boy's twice the man some of you were at his age." But the pressure mounted. A petition circulated, anonymous signatures from alumni demanding traditional values restored. The local paper ran a veiled op-ed, Gridiron Guardians or Gender Games? that had tongues wagging at the diner. We ignored it or tried, focusing on spring practice where I'd clawed my way back to starter, every catch a middle finger to the doubters. Jamie thrived under the scrutiny, his game elevating to poetry. Fakes that fooled linebackers, spirals threading needles at 40 yards. Off-field, he was my anchor, teaching me to drive stick in his beat-up Mustang. Windows down, wind whipping our laughter as we blasted Springsteen tapes. Born to Run became our anthem, Bruce's howl a battle cry against the small-town chains. We'd park at Makeout Point, not making out but making memories. Stargazing contests, debates on whether the Big Dipper pointed to freedom or just more cornfields. His touch was reverent, hands mapping my ribs like Braille. Whispers of "you're beautiful," chasing away the shadows Dad's silence left. Yet cracks spiderwebbed. Dad's health dipped, a ulcer flaring from stress. Docs blaming lifestyle pressures. Guilt gnawed at me. Was this my fault? My love a grenade in his gut? I confronted him over meatloaf one Sunday. Mom's recipe that he mangled but tried for. You gonna keep punishing yourself for me? He set down his fork, eyes weary. Not punishing, Alex. Protecting. This town. Choose up different. Like it did your ma. We talked then, really talked. About her leaving not for another man, but for the woman she'd loved in secret. A nurse from Cleveland who'd promised escape. Dad's voice broke. I blamed myself. Thought if I'd been stronger. The revelation hung, a bridge half-built. I reached across the table, our hands clasping awkward but real. You're strong enough now. For us. Summer scorched in, practices under a sun that baked the turf black. The team gelled despite fractures. Even Tyler kept his distance, benched for mouthing off. Jamie and I stole mornings at the lake, swimming laps till exhaustion, bodies brushing underwater in electric accidents. One afternoon, floating on our backs, he turned to me, water lapping our ears. What if we run? After graduation, hitch to Cali, surf and forget. Tempting, but roots ran deep. Dad's tentative thaw, the championship ring I'd earn or die trying. Not yet, I murmured, pulling him close, our legs tangling in the current. We fight here first. Win on our terms. The betrayal's echo lingered, though, in sidelong glances from teammates, the way sponsors hedged bets on our season. Dad called a mandatory team barbecue at our place. Ribs smoking on the grill, a forced family affair to mend fences. Jamie arrived in khakis and a button-down, nervous as a colt, bearing pie from his grandma's recipe. Dad shook his hand firm, clapped his back. Good arm, kid. Keep it up. Progress fragile as eggshell. Around the fire pit that night, stories flowed. Ghost plays, locker room pranks, and for a moment, we were just boys. The air sweet with mesquite and possibility. But Tyler crashed the gate, drunk on pilfered beer, slurring accusations that shattered the idol. You think this fixes it, coach? Your faggot son's ruining us. The yard went still, forks hovering. Dad rose slow, a colossus in the firelight. Get off my property, son, and stay gone. Tyler lunged, wild swing missing, but Jamie stepped in, restraining him with a quarterback's poise. Cops came, lights flashing blue, hauling Tyler away in cuffs. In the fallout, Dad pulled me aside. I'm proud of you both. 3 words, but they landed like touchdowns, rewriting the playbook. Fall foliage blazed as season kicked off. Our first game a rout against rivals from Toledo, 35-10. Jamie's 3 picks, my 2 TDs, electric, unspoken synergy. The crowd chanted, Harlon, Harlon. Dad's name, but I felt it for us. Post-game, in the underbelly of the stands, we celebrated with a kiss that tasted of victory and vindication, his hands framing my face like a portrait. We're unstoppable, he breathed, and I believed it, the stars above winking approval. Yet doubt crept in whispers. Scouts from OSU circled Jamie like vultures, their eyes appraising, Dad beaming as he networked. Me? Solid, but no headlines. You'll shine, Jamie promised, but insecurity festered. Would he outgrow me, the small-town shadow? One night, tangled in his sheets, sheets smelling of his cedar cologne. I voiced it. What if college changes us? He traced my jaw, serious. It will. We'll grow, but together. Like roots. Reassurance. But the seed of fear took hold. Mid-season hit like a freight train. Undefeated at 6-0, but cracks widened. A loss to Canton, 24-21 on a Hail Mary fluke, and blame ricocheted. Tyler, out on bail, posted online rants from a burner account, stirring alums into frenzy. Dad weathered it, but the ulcer returned, landing him in ER after a practice collapse. I sat vigil, Jamie pacing the hall, our hands clasped in the waiting room plastic chairs. He's tough, Jamie said, but his eyes betrayed fear. For Dad. For us. Recovery brought clarity. Dad discharged. He handed me his old playbook, margins filled with notes. This game's about heart, Alex. Not just muscle. We rebuilt. Father-son drills at dawn. His whistle softer. Guidance laced with questions. What do you see? It was therapy disguised as routes, mending what words couldn't. Jamie joined sometimes. The three of us a triad on the dew-kissed grass, laughter punctuating fumbles. The semifinals loomed against undefeated Akron, a beast with D1 dreams. Pre-game jitters had us wired. Jamie and I snuck to the roof of the school, city lights sprawling like a map to elsewhere. After this, he said, wind tousling his hair, we tell the world. No more shadows. I nodded, heart swelling. Our kiss sealing the pact, fierce, affirming, the skyline our witness. Game night crackled, stadium electric with 8,000 souls. We led 17-10 at half, Jamie's arm a wand, my feet fleet phantoms. But third quarter, disaster. I slipped on a wet patch, ankle twisting with a pop that echoed louder than the crowd's gasp. Down I went, pain lancing white-hot, medics swarming. From the turf, I saw Dad's face crumple, Jamie's helmeted sprint to my side. Stay with me, he mouthed through the cage, hand squeezing mine till it hurt. Carried off on a stretcher, the lights blurring. I thought, this is it, the break that ends us. Hospital confirmed. Sprain, not break, but out for playoffs. Devastation hit harder than any hit. Jamie played the finale alone, valiant in a 28-24 win, but the spark dimmed without me. In my room, crutches propped like sentinels, Dad sat vigil. You gave everything, son. That's championship enough. His hand on mine, calloused and steady. We cried then, for the boy he'd lost and found, for the love that had nearly cost us all. Spring brought healing, literal and otherwise. Physical therapy sessions with Jamie, his massages turning to caresses, laughter our best medicine. Dad attended our double dates. Awkward picnics where he'd grill burgers and grill us gently on plans. OSU for both? He'd probe, pride evident. Scouts called. I earned a walk-on spot, Jamie full ride. Milford softened too. A pride flag fluttering at the field house. Boosters apologizing over pie at the diner. Graduation dawned golden. Caps tossed like confetti. Jamie and I stood on the 50-yard line post-ceremony. Jerseys retired in a quiet nod from Dad. To new beginnings. We toasted with sodas. The town square alive with brass bands. But as summer waned, distance loomed. Columbus an hour away, but worlds apart in change. Our goodbye at the quarry was tear-streaked. Promises etched in wet sand. Letters every week, he vowed. Kiss lingering like sunset. College blurred in a haze of lectures and lifts. Jamie's dorm a 20-minute bus ride. We made it work, weekend rendezvous, phone calls till dorm curfew. But freshman year tested. Parties where eyes lingered on him. My lit classes stirring dreams of writing that pulled me inward. A fight over a missed game. Words sharp as cleats. You're drifting, Alex. You're shining too bright without me. We patched it, but the seam showed. Sophomore slump hit Jamie hard. A benching after interceptions. Scouts cooling. He leaned on me. Drives back to Milford where Dad's coaching wisdom waited like open arms. Slumps are setups for comebacks, Dad said over coffee. His own retirement a graceful bow. Ray entered the picture then. a quiet man with a sailor's squint and stories of Pacific gales. Dad's blush was boyish, our approval his green light. Love finds you when you're not looking, he told me, eyes twinkling. By junior year, we'd evolved, Jamie assistant coach material, me editor of the Lit Mag, our love a steady burn. Summers home, we'd coach Dad's Pee-wee camp, kids clamoring for the gay power couples tips. Tyler resurfaced once, clean now, apology mumbled at a reunion. I was scared, man, of me. Forgiveness came easy, growth the real win. Senior spring, rings on fingers, not legal, but binding in a Columbus courthouse, witnesses our roommates. Dad walked me down the aisle, Ray at his side, tears unashamed. You made me believe again, he whispered. Jamie's vows echoed our quarry pact. Forever, no matter the field. Postgrad, paths forked gently. Jamie to coaching in Cincy, me to teaching in the Berg, visits a ritual. Kids came for him later, adopted miracles with his grin. Dad and Ray sailed the Gulf, postcards of sunsets. Me, I write now, stories of boys who bend but don't break. Mailed to Jamie with notes. Our intermission's the best part. In Milford's quiet, the field stands eternal. Lights waiting for new heroes. We stood trial once, emerged human, flawed, fierce, loved. And that's the real championship. The drive to Columbus felt like crossing state lines into another life. The Ohio Turnpike, a ribbon of asphalt unspooling under tires that hummed with uncertainty. Jamie's Mustang, now ours, rattled with the weight of duffels and dreams. Springsteen crooning low on the tape deck about thunder roads and glory days we'd yet to claim. I glanced at him, profile sharp against the dashboard glow. One hand on the wheel, the other finding mine across the console. A touchstone in the flux. Think Dad's gonna crash the first tailgate? He teased, voice light but eyes searching. I squeezed back, masking the knot in my gut. With Ray shotgun? Count on it. Popcorn and pride flags included. Dorm check-in was chaos. Freshmen hauling boxes like ants. Our ace barking directions under a sky bruised with autumn clouds. Our rooms were floors apart. Budget cuts, they said. But we made do, bunk beds for stolen nights, study carols turned love nests. OSU's campus sprawled like a small city, scarlet banners whipping in wind that carried cheers from the shoe. The Horseshoe Stadium, a coliseum looming on the horizon. Jamie Dove in headfirst, redshirting to bulk up. His days a blur of weights and film. Me? Lit seminars hooked me deep. Professors dissecting Whitman like lovers. His barbaric yawp, echoing my own unspoken roar. Evenings, we'd meet at Mirror Lake, geese honking overhead as we shared contraband pizza. His head on my lap, fingers toying with my hair. This is it, Alex. Us against the world, or at least the Buckeyes. But college wasn't Milford's tidy playbook. Parties pulsed with bass that drowned doubts. Keg stands and co-eds in crop tops casting Jamie glances that lingered too long. He'd laugh them off, arms slung casual around me in crowds, but insecurity whispered. Was I enough for this golden boy, now surrounded by temptations in Letterman jackets? One Halloween bash, costumes absurd. Me as a brooding Gatsby, him a quarterback gladiator. We danced till sweat slicked, but a sorority girl in cat ears pressed close, her hand on his chest. He stepped back, polite but firm. Taken, thanks. Later, in my room, he pulled me tight. Only you, dummy. Always. The kiss that followed was apology and affirmation. Slow and sure, chasing shadows away. Dad visited monthly, Ray in tow, their RV parked like a beacon in the lot. Tailgates became ritual. Brats on the grill, Dad in Buckeye gear he'd never admit to buying, dissecting plays with Jamie like old war buddies. That option pitch? Sloppy footwork. He'd grunt, but his eyes shone with something softer. Approval, perhaps, for the men we'd become. Ray, with his easy grin and tales of typhoons, drew Dad out, their hands brushing over checkers, a quiet romance blooming in plain sight. Your old man's softer than he lets on, Ray confided once, winking. Takes after his boy. Winter quarter brought snow that blanketed the oval in hush, study sessions by radiator heat. Jamie's throws practiced in empty lots till fingers numbed. My ankle, still tender, kept me sidelined, but writing filled the void. Short stories submitted to the lantern. Tales of forbidden fields and fathers redeemed. One piece, Whistle in the Dark, landed in print, a veiled nod to us. Jamie read it aloud by candlelight during a blackout, voice cracking on the ending. And in the silence, they ran, not from, but toward. He set the pages down, eyes wet. That's us, poets and passers. Spring thaw unleashed Ohio's temper. Tornado watches sending us to basements where we'd huddle, laughing at doomsday preppers on TV. But storms brew inside too. Jamie's redshirt year ended with a scout's nod, but a summer internship in Cleveland pulled him away. Coaching camp for underprivileged kids, his passion project. 3 weeks apart felt like exile. Letters flew, mine verbose with metaphors, his scrawled with hearts and miss your laugh. Reunion at the quarry was fire. Diving in fully clothed, water shocking, bodies colliding in joyous chaos. Never again, we vowed, but life laughed. Sophomore year ramped up. Jamie earned starting reps in scrimmages, his arm drawing crowds, whispers of NFL dreams. I switched to creative writing, professors praising my raw authenticity. But imposter syndrome gnawed. Could a jocklet kid from Corn Country hack it? A workshop critique stung. Too sentimental. Harden up. Jamie found the draft, crumpled it with a kiss. It's gold because it's you. Don't let 'em sand it down. Dad's calls grew frequent, laced with pride but probing. How's the team treating you, Jam? Alex keeping his grades up? Ray's influence showed. Dad out and proud at VFW mixers, even marching in Columbus's Pride Parade, scarlet OSU scarf over rainbow pin. For you, kid, he said post-march, hugging awkward but fierce. It healed something, seeing him wave that flag, the Marine who'd once saluted only stars and stripes now championing ours. But betrayal's ghost resurfaced in sophomore slump. A teammate, buzzcut buzzkill named Derek, Tyler's echo from afar. Overheard Jamie defending me in the weight room. Alex's family. End of. It twisted into locker room fodder, slurs muttered behind hands. One night, post-party, Derek cornered Jamie in the hall. Slumming it with the bookworm? Fans won't dig that. Jamie decked him, clean hook that split lip and legend. Suspension loomed, but coach, a grizzled vet with dad's gruff, squashed it. Loyalty's the game, son. Keep it. The fallout bonded us tighter. We volunteered at a local LGBTQ center, facilitating teen groups where kids shared stories that mirrored our Milford trials. One boy, 16 and scared, reminded me of pre-Jamie me. What if they hate me? Jamie knelt. I level. They might, but the right ones, they'll fight for you. His words, drawn from our scars, landed like grace. That night, driving home, I proposed, impromptu, on a whim, pulling over under a billboard hawking Buckeye tickets. Marry me, here now forever. He laughed, then teared. Yes, you sap. Ring or no. We exchanged class rings, silver promises on chain, the highway humming benediction. Junior year blurred in ambition's rush. Jamie's stats soared. 3,000 yards, Heisman whispers, scouts circling like hawks. My thesis took shape, a novella on fractured families. Dad beta reading with red pen gentle. More heart here, like you taught me. Ray and he settled in Florida, a bungalow by the bay, wedding vows exchanged on a pier at sunset. Us zooming in, toasting with mimosas. Your turn next, Dad joked, but his eyes held blessing. Summer split us again. Jamie at NFL combined prep, me interning at a Pittsburgh press. Distance stretched, letters thin, calls crackling with static and strain. A photo surfaced, Jamie at a gala, arm around a cheerleader for show. Tabloid bait. It gutted me, irrational but raw. Fight via phone. It's nothing. Feels like everything. We mended over a weekend dash, him in my tiny apartment. Apologies in every touch. You're my endgame, he swore, and I clung to it. The fear a reminder of fragility. Senior fall crested like a wave. Undefeated Bucks, Jamie MVP contender, me graduating with honors, thesis published indie. The shoe's roar enveloped us. Confetti after the Rose Bowl, when a blizzard of scarlet joy. On the field, post-victory, he pulled me into the pile. Out, unapologetic, cameras flashing our kiss amid cheers. World knows now, he grinned, breathless. Dad, in stands with Ray, hooped loudest. Postseason haze. NFL draft lottery for Jamie. A 7th-round pick to the Browns. Homecoming irony. Me? Offer from a Pittsburgh charter school. Lit teacher and track coach. Wedding planning wove through it. Small affair in Milford's Park. Dad officiating with vows he'd penned. In trials we stand. In love we run. Tyler showed, sober 3 years. Best man nod accepted with grace. But life's no tidy novel. Jamie's rookie year brutal. Benched, bruised. The league's grind a meat grinder. Trades loomed. Distance yawning between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. We commuted, but exhaustion eroded edges. Missed anniversaries. Snapped words over stat lines. You're fading on me? I accused one night, rain lashing windows. Chasing ghosts of glory. He deflated. Trying to be enough. For us. The break came gentle, inevitable. A mutual mercy after a cup playoff loss. His knee buckling again. Over diner pie. Tears salting fries. I love you. Always will. But maybe. Space to breathe. Heart shatter. But humane. We hugged it out. Promising friendship's frame. He met Mike months later. A designer with quiet strength. I dated sparingly. Finding solace in pages and pupils. Years layer like autumn leaves. Jamie's family man now. Coaching youth. Our brunches with kids who call me Uncle Alex. Dad and Ray sail eternal. Visits to their porch swings tales of yore. My classroom's a haven. Stories sparking in young eyes. One boy confiding. I'm gay, Mr. Harlan. Scared. I share ours. Fear's the first down. Courage wins the game. In quiet nights, quarry echoes linger. Kisses in moonlight. Promises kept in evolution. We stood trial, broke rules, emerged not unbroken, but beautifully bent. Human, that's the win. And in Milford's fields, under endless skies, love's the eternal playbook. Pittsburgh welcomed me like an old flame, its bridges arching over rivers that churned with the same restless energy I'd carried from Ohio. The apartment was a shoebox in Shadyside. Exposed brick, creaky floors, a fire escape for midnight reads, but it felt like conquest, keys jangling promise in my pocket. First day at Lincoln High, nerves jangling worse than Dad's whistle. I faced 30 sophomores, their eyes appraising like scouts at Combine. Mr. Harlan's gonna be a pushover. One smirked, but I launched into Whitman, yawping about self-reliance till they leaned in, hook set, track practice after, whistle round my neck. I coached hurdles with Jamie's cadence in mind. Over, not through, commit. Letters from him arrived weekly, postmarked Cleveland, scrawled in that familiar slant. Tales of OTAs, rookies hazing, a doodle of us as superheroes. Miss your critiques, he'd write. And you're everything. I'd reply volumes, metaphors for the ache. Distance is a bad route, but we're long ball pros. Dad's postcards from Florida interspersed. Ray's handwriting neat. Your pop's hooked on bridge. Blame the strategy. Reminds him of you boys. Pride swelled. The Harlan name, once burden, now banner. Fall foliage turned Point State Park gold. My runs along the Allegheny, a meditation on metamorphosis. Jamie's debut start. A Monday night massacre. 300 yards, 2 TDs. Watched on a bar TV with colleagues. Cheers erupting when he spiked the pigskin. Post-game call. Saw you hollering, babe. Felt it here. His voice, husky with adrenaline, bridged miles. We planned a weekend, him driving west, me east. Rendezvous at a halfway diner off 76. The lot was fogged. Windows steaming as we tumbled into the back seat. Laughter bubbling before lips met, urgent and reaffirming. This, he gasped, hands framing my face. This is home. Motel follow-up was tender exploration. Boundaries respected. souls sinking in whispers till dawn. But the league's glamour gilded cracks. Paparazzi flashes at events, arm candy rumors swirling. Me, the mystery boyfriend in grainy shots. A Cleveland mag profiled him. From Milford to the Mill, QB's rise. Glossing queerness as private life. A stung, erasure subtle but sharp. They'll come around. He soothed over FaceTime, but doubt seeded. My tenure track offer came then, stability calling, while his contract ballooned, fame's double-edged sword. Thanksgiving pulled us to Milford, Dad's table groaning with turkey and tensions thaw. Ray carved, jokes landing easy. We for a family forged in fire. Post-feast walks, Jamie and I lagged, hands brushing in the chill. Remember this when it's crazy? He murmured. Dad overheard, clapping our shoulders. Crazy's what makes it count, like 89. His season story, once myth, now metaphor. Underdogs clawing victory. Winter holidays split. Jamie to a team gala in NYC, me grading papers by twinkle lights. Photos hit feeds, him tuxed solo, smile strained. Call came late, slurred slightly. Too much champagne, too little you. Heart twist. I flew standby, surprising him at the hotel. Our reunion a whirlwind of skyline views and slow dances in pajamas. Stay, he begged, but duty called back. Airport goodbye. His kiss lingering. Draft me to Pittsburgh next year? Spring brought bloom and bruise. My novella launch, small reading at a Lawrenceville bookstore. 20 souls in folding chairs. Jamie zoomed in, whooping virtual. But his knee, that old nemesis, flared in minicamp. MRI confirming tears. Out 6 months, coach announced, presser grim. I drove through night to Cleveland, finding him iced and irate, crutches propped like accusations. Ruined, he muttered, but I knelt, echoing his quarry vow. Rebuilt, with me. Therapy sessions became ours, his PT, my pep talks, laughter in the reps. Summer simmered tension. Trade rumors swirled. Browns shopping him, whispers of Philly or Dallas. We house-hunted hypotheticals, Zillow scrolls dreaming condos with river views. Dad visited. Ray angling a fishing trip. Clear the head Harlan style. On the Monongahela, lines cast. Dad opened up. Scouts called me, vouching for Jamie's grit. Told him he's got heart like his line. Unbreakable. Pride choked me, the coach now ally. But betrayal brewed subtle. A teammate's wife, bitter from her own divorce, leaked texts. Innocent love you missives. To a gossip rag. Headlines screamed. QB's secret affair? It wasn't, but optics scorched, sponsors pulling, fans tweeting slurs. Jamie's agent panicked. Go public or go dark. We chose light. A joint interview on local sports radio. Voices steady. Alex is my rock. End of story. Backlash hit, but support surged. Letters from queer fans. Dad on call-in. Proud as hell. Fall championship chase for the Browns. Jamie starting slow but surging. Passes threading defenses like fate. I flew weekends, press box perch. His winks from the huddle electric. Thanksgiving redux in Cleveland. My folks invading his turf. Ray's pie rivaling mom's ghost. Post-meal, toasts raised. To trials one. Dad's eyes met mine. Gnawed deep with unsaid. You did this. Winter draft deadline loomed like guillotine. Browns kept him, but restructure meant pay cuts, pressure mounting. A loss to Steelers, rival blood. Sent him spiraling, bar tab high. Call to me slurry. Can't do this without you. I quit the semester early. Subbing in, moving cross-state to a cheap rental near the lake. Cohabitation was crash course. His gear strewn, my books stacked, mornings with coffee and compromise. This is us, he said, nuzzling my neck. Messy perfect. Spring training round the bend, but knee whispered warnings. PT intensified. My coaching voice his echo. 1 rep at a time. Dad flew up. Ray too. Family scrimmage in the park. Softball stand-ins. Laughter louder than losses. You're building something bigger, Dad said. Glove on my shoulder. Yet the league's maw widened. Rookie hazing turned huddle. Vets pressuring man up, code for closet. Jamie resisted, but isolation gnawed. One night, post-argument over curfew, he snapped, "You don't get it. The eyes, the stakes." I fired back, "I get erasure. Every day." Door slam, silence heavy. Dawn reconciliation, apologies in sheets. Fight together, not at. Summer peak. Pro Bowl nod for him, invite declined for rest. We vacation Finger Lakes, cabin quiet, kayaks on misted water. "Remember Corey?" he asked, paddling tandem. "Simpler. Better," I countered. Nights by fire, stories swapped. His gridiron gospels, my lit lore. Vows renewed, impromptu, through drafts and doubts. Fall fury. Brown's playoff push, Jamie's arm afire, 4,000 yards. I taught remotely, track meet streamed. Holiday Bowl berth secured. Confetti in the locker room, his kiss cam moment. Me in stands, heart burst. Dad texted, "That's my boys." But climax crested cruel. AFC wild card. Lights blazing. Lead 20-17 fourth quarter. Blitz comes, Jamie plants, throws, me spiraling downfield in mind's eye. Sack hits low. Knee buckles, audible snap over broadcast. Field blurs to stretcher, my dash from stands a blur, tunnel vision to his side. "Alex," he gasps, hand seeking mine. "It's okay. We got this." R confirms. ACL tear? Season over. Career question. Vigil in sterile white. Dad arriving red-eyed. Ray steady. "Tougher than nails," he murmurs. Jamie wakes groggy. Thumbs my cheek. "Write our story. Happy ending." Tears flow. I nod. Penning chapters in head. Spring blooms hope. Knee mends, but docs counsel pivot. Analyst, perhaps not QB. Heartbreak. But grace. More time for us. We relocate Pittsburgh proper. Row house with yard for future pups. Wedding whispers grow. Legal now, post Obergefell, courthouse simple. Summer solstice. Vows in Frick Park. Under oaks ancient as oaths. Dad walks me, voice thick. Broke rules for this. Worth every whistle. Jamie's yes. Ring sliding home. My forever route. Reception picnic, Milford crew toasting, even Tyler, distant but present. Fall finds footing. Jamie joins ESPN desk, breakdowns brilliant, our cameos couple goals. I publish full memoir, Field of Hearts. Bestseller bump from his fame. Dad and Ray adopt a rescue, golden years golden. In winter's hush, we trace scars, knee, heart. Grateful. Trials echo, we bent, didn't break. Love's the MVP, humanistic win. The row house in Squirrel Hill settled around us like a well-worn glove. Its steep stairs a daily reminder that home wasn't handed. It was climbed. Mornings started with coffee brewed strong. Jamie's analyst segments piping from the kitchen radio as I pecked at manuscripts. Red pen dancing corrections. Sounded good out there. Hotshot. I'd call, and he'd saunter in. Tie loose. Planting a kiss that tasted of ambition and almond milk. Life post-league wasn't spotlight, but steady glow. His breakdowns viral for wit. My second book deal a quiet thrill. Dad popped by weekends. Ray's pies precursors to grilling sessions where plays past mingled with prose plots. "You too, still running circles round me." He'd chuckle, eyes crinkling with the pride once rationed. First anniversary hit like confetti, a weekend at Ohio Pile. Rafting the Yoyogeni, whitewater whoops echoing our early chaos. Rapids tossed us. Linked hands our rudder. Emerging soaked and laughing on sun-warmed rocks. To more spills, Jamie toasted with river-chilled beer, his freckles deepened by sun. That night, tent zipped against chill, we mapped tattoos. His new compass on rib, needle pointed north to me. Mine, a subtle football laced with quill. "Anchors," he murmured, tracing ink. Our bodies a language of survival. But anniversaries unearth ghosts. A Cleveland reunion. Old teammates, championship toasts. Pulled Jamie back. Derek there with apology beer. "Owed you that punch, man." Forgiveness flowed easy, but night whispers stirred. "Ever regret the out?" Jamie's pause, then firm. "Only hiding." Back home, it lingered, my trust a bruise fading slow. Writing channeled it, essays on love's long game, published in The Atlantic, readers emailing, "Your story gave mine words. One from a Milford teen. Came out because of you. Thanks, Coach Harlan." Jamie read it aloud, voice thick. "We're legends, babe. Dad's health scare came midsummer. A ticker irregularity, Florida doc's prescribing pace. He waved it off. Sailor's heart, just rusty. But Ray called panicked, and we flew south, finding him in hammock, pale but puckish. Brought the cavalry." He grinned, hugging fierce. "Hospital confirmed pacemaker, minor but milestone. Post-op, balcony talks turned testament. Seeing you thrive. Fixed what your ma's leaving cracked. Tears unmanly but real." Ray squeezed my hand. "He means you fixed him." Jamie and Dad bonded over recovery reps. Walks on beach where waves schooled resilience. Fall foliage frame change. Jamie's ESPN bump to sideline reporter. Travel tugging us taut. I subbed more. Classroom itch returning. Lincoln High rehiring part-time. Sophomores hungry for hoop dreams. Balancing act wobbled. A missed flight. His game in LA. My book tour in Boston. Crossed wires fraying patience. Fight over text. Priorities, Alex? Yours eclipse mine? Cooling via voice note. His apology song. Off-key Thunder Road. Laughing us through. Winter wonder wrapped gifts. Jamie's proposal redux. Under Pittsburgh's Christmas tree. Ring upgraded. Sapphire for skies we chased. Second yes. I teased, but sobbed yes. Ceremony planned spring. Backyard affair. Milford kin invited. Dad officiated again. Vows refreshed. In bends and breaks, we brace. Spring wedding bloomed riotous. Tulips from Ray's garden. Playlist our anthems. Tyler best man. Speech surprisingly sage. Broke bad once. Learned rules bend for real men. Dance floor swirled. Dad twirling Ray. Jamie pulling me close. Husband? Whispered like prayer. Honeymoon finger lakes redux. Kayaks to cabins. Vows echoed in loon's call. Summer simmered success. My book tour east. Jamie's gigs west. But synced for Milford's homecoming. Field rededicated Harlan legacy. Plaque for Dad. Nods to us. Crowd roared. Kids in jerseys chanting. Postgame. Under lights. Jamie mic'd. This field's where love tackled fear. Thanks, Milford. Applause thundered. Pride, not prejudice. But life's plot twists unbidden. Jamie's doc visit routine but shadow on scan. Early prostate whisper caught quick but chilling. Treatable. Specialist soothed. But fear's grip tightened. I held vigil through scans. His hand in mine echoing stadium squeezes. We beat worse, he quipped, but eyes betrayed. Treatment trail. Surgery minor. Recovery my coaching. Soups simmered. Stories spun to distract. Dad flew up. Ray packing care kits. Fighters fuel. Community rallied. Teammates Zoom prayers. Fans cards flooding. Fall found footing. Clear margins, Jamie back broadcasting, voice steadier. My tenure track solidified. Classroom a canvas for tales triumphant. We adopted Milo. Mutt with Jamie's energy. Walks our therapy. Leash linking. Leaves crunching confessions. Winter's hush healed. Holiday with Dad and Ray. Beach bonfire where stories starred. Your trial, Dad said, embers glowing. Taught mercy. Mine included. Hugs lingered. Family fluid as tide. Spring renewal. Book 3 gestating. Jamie's podcast launch. Gridiron Hearts. Queer athlete spotlights. First guest. Me. Reading our origin. Laughs and lumps in throat. Summer solstice circles. Anniversary raft. Rapids kinder. Us sure. Dad's 80th sailboat bash. Toasts to trials. Tyler's there, sponsor now. Kid in tow. Uncle Ty's story time? About 2 guys who won. Fall's harvest. Milford visit. Field walk with ghosts. Quarry dip. Clothes on, splashes younger selves. Full circle, Jamie says, water beating lashes. And counting. In winter's embrace we pen epilogues. Love not linear, but layered. Stood trial, broke rules, built empires of empathy. Human arc. From bench to beacon, fear to family. Under Ohio stars, ever Milford boys we run. Toward light, together. Epilogue whispers. Years stack, grandkids freckled, dad's tales grandpa gold. Jamie's mic retires gentle, my pages proliferate. Betrayals? Footnotes. Climax? This quiet win, love's humanistic huddle eternal.